What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, I'm going to talk about my free hit team for Game Week 13. I haven't activated the chip yet, but there is a very high chance that I will have done that by the time we get to the deadline. So I'm going to talk through what the team is looking like, and then also why I think free hit 13 works best for my team. So let's get into it. So let's start with the defensive players first of all. And as I go through the team, I'll try and talk through which players are kind of locked in already, although anything can change before next Saturday's deadline. There might be injuries in midweek with European matches. Also, there's no early kickoff on Saturday. The deadline is 1:30 UK time because the first matches are at 3. So we might get some early leaks as well. We don't tend to get too much information these days, which to be honest, I kind of like. But one of the early games is Man City at 3 p.m. And obviously, if any leaks come out about that, that could change how the team is set up because Man City are one of the key teams for this week. So on the deadline stream, I will definitely be keeping an eye out for early news, especially if I activate the free hit, which I think I probably will later this week. So in goal, Martinez, Wolves at home. I would say one of the players that's probably very likely to make the final team, mostly because I don't see me wanting two Aston Villa attackers. Rodgers and Watkins are both pretty good, but I don't think I can find a setup to have both of them in. And essentially, I'm going to choose my goalkeeper from Man City, Villa, Burnley, actually, probably just from one of those three teams. So it's going to be Martinez, Kelleher, or Donnarumma. And Martinez just fits in with the rest of the squad. So he's kind of locked in at this point. And I also like the double up with Matty Cash as well. I had originally been looking at Luca Dean as well as an option, maybe instead of Cash, or maybe as a triple up, and just ignore Rodgers and Watkins. But then Luca Dean got a super early sub yesterday, and that's just massively put me off. So I won't be going there. But Matty Cash pretty much nailed. Not too bad from an attacking point of view as well. And I quite like going for a double up on defence on free hit. Ideally, I would like two double ups, but I just don't think I can make it work with the attackers that I want. So Martinez and Cash, probably the defenders most locked in, I would say. The other two, O'Reilly from Man City, he is locked in as long as we get a leak that he's starting. Because if we don't get that leak, I'm not sure if I'm going to trust the minutes. And what worries me now is Man City have lost at the weekend. And does that mean Pep will mix things up? Like if Ait-Nouri gets minutes in Europe midweek and he plays really well, are we going to be confident that O'Reilly just plays at the weekend? Like he probably will, but that's always the problem with Man City players. You're not quite 100% confident. So I really want O'Reilly because when I watch him, he's always in the box getting shots and stuff like that. It's obviously a good fixture for a clean sheet as well. But I'm not sure I'm going to trust it without a leak. If we don't get that leak, what do? I try and find some money to go Vardiol probably. Or just go for Donnarumma in goal and maybe even do something like Konza in defence, which is so boring. The problem with Aston Villa defenders, they don't get defensive contributions. And that kind of puts me off. But that would be the alternative, something like Konza and Donnarumma instead of Martinez and O'Reilly. Or try and find the money for Vardiol. But ideally, O'Reilly is the defender that I want. And then I've gone for Collins from Brentford. The reason I've picked him over Vandenberg is he's better for defensive contributions. But actually, I was looking at the underlying stats. Vandenberg's goal threat seems a bit better. So do I take the potential for better defensive contributions or do I go for the goal threat? Right now, I've got Collins in because that's just the season we're having right now. Defensive contributions have been super important. But actually, if I need to find the money, Vandenberg is cheaper and the goal threat looks a little bit higher on the stats so far. So I wouldn't be surprised if I end up switching Collins to Vandenberg. But I do think I will end up having a Brentford defensive player. I have looked at the triple up in attack. So Dangu, Tara, Sharda, and Thiago, of course, who's pretty much a lock. But it just always works nicer with a defender in there. So that's why Collins is there. But I like Vandenberg. On the bench, it's just two Sunderland defenders against Bournemouth at home because they're cheap, Mukiele and Reinildo. And then Dubravka, as always, is my goalkeeper. So I quite like that defence. All at home, plenty of chance for a clean sheet. Let's look at the midfield. So as it stands, I'm set up with a 5-man midfield. So the intention for Game Week 13 would be to play 3-5-2. I've got the double up on Liverpool attack in Salah and Gakpo against West Ham away, Foden against Leeds at home, Rodgers against Wolves at home, and then Sharda against Burnley at home. I look at that midfield, and in some ways I kind of love it. They're all fairly differential. I know Salah's overall ownership is probably still quite high because there's a lot of dead teams from the start of the season. Obviously, some people would have held on to him as well. But relative to what his ownership has been in the past, it's super low. And I know he's not value for money, but this is 1 week only. I'm not going to own him from game week 14 onwards. Gakpo would have got a few people buying him last week, especially with the Virch news, but his ownership's not super high. Foden's obviously been playing a lot, but a few people sold him recently. Rodgers' ownership will go up after the 2 goals at the weekend, but not to a massive amount. And I haven't seen many people talking about Schade, let alone buying him recently. So the midfield is nice and differential, and not many people are going to have a midfield anything like that unless they're free hitting this week. It's all good fixtures as well. Burnley, Wolves, Leeds, still teams to target. They're all at home. And I know West Ham have had some good results, but I still don't think they're great. And they've just conceded 4xG to Bournemouth. Like, Liverpool could absolutely do something similar. Probably not 4xG with the way they're playing right now, but they'll probably get at least 2+. So there's goals there. And look, Salah's not value for money. He's not been great, but he probably could have had an assist against Forest in the opening 30 minutes. I actually thought he played all right for 20 to 30 minutes yesterday and was a little bit unlucky to not get a return. Gakpo could have gone down. That would have resulted in a penalty almost certainly. These small things can just happen in a one-off game. So we can talk all we want about how Salah's been rubbish, he's not worth 14 million, but for 1 week only, it's kind of nice, right? But on the other hand, I look at this midfield and think, well, Rodgers, Schade and Salah are fine. They'll definitely start. Will Gakpo? Will Foden? Now, Foden's minutes have been very good for quite a while, so the chances are he will just start again against Leeds. But Man City have just lost to Newcastle. Will Pep want to mix it up? And the problem is, even if Foden starts midweek, you're not 100% sure it's going to be the same at the weekend. Now, I probably should stop worrying about Foden too much because he has played a lot and he's played pretty well for Man City. He was probably a little bit unlucky to not get something at the weekend against Newcastle as well. But I'm always going to have trust issues with Man City players. And it's the same with Gakpo. So if Wirtz is still out, it's quite likely that Gakpo will start, but it's not a 100% guarantee. And Liverpool have also just lost at the weekend, 3-0 to Forest. Surely Slot is going to want to mix it up in some way. Now, if Wirtz is out, it's very difficult to do that with Gakpo, but could he start Ekitike and Isak? I mean, Ekitike, I don't know how he's not starting at the moment. Isak was awful at the weekend. There is no way I'll be including him on a free hit, because even if he starts, he'd probably get subbed early. So I think my love for this team is going to depend a lot on what happens midweek and what information about players we get. So if Wirtz is out and Gakpo plays well midweek, then I probably won't worry about him so much. And when he does start, he does often hit the 90-minute mark. But there are a few question marks about this. Schade, by the way, absolutely locked in. Like, I like Utara, but he's more likely to be subbed early than Schade. And obviously it's Burnley at home, so I want to target that. So out of this 5-man midfield, Schade is absolutely locked in. I do not see me going into the deadline without him. Salah's pretty much locked in as well. Rodgers, I think, is due to price. Like, I'd actually like to take a punt on Watkins instead, because I think everyone's going to go Rodgers now. But he's cheaper, and it's just easier to fit in. And you know his minutes, he's just indestructible. So Schade, Rodgers, Salah, I can see making the final team. It's Foden and Gakpo I'm a little bit concerned about. Hopefully, like I said, we'll get some Man City leaks. Doku is someone I've seen in quite a few teams, but honestly, if I can afford it, I think I prefer Foden. Doku, he just always gets subbed early as well. Like, I trust him even less for minutes than I do with Foden. So I kind of like it, but then I look at my actual team set up for game week 13. Now, look, it doesn't look as good on paper. Dewsbury, Hall, Saka, Fernandes and Cunha. And obviously, we'll wait and see if Cunha's okay tonight against Everton, how many minutes he gets and stuff. But you know Fernandes is going to play. You know he's on penalties. You know Saka's going to play against Chelsea. You know he's on penalties. Like, this midfield definitely looks worse than my free hit one. Like in some ways, I think, why are you even contemplating not free hitting? Like, that midfield is nowhere near as good on paper, but it could be, you know? So, I don't know. I think this team looks really nice, but there's something about the midfield I just don't quite trust. But honestly, I think I'm going to have this problem every week. I've said this for weeks now. Every time you look at a free hit team, it's not going to be miles better than your actual team because there's no blanks, there's no doubles to worry about. So at some point, it's got to be used. And I think most people would agree on paper, especially with all the home fixtures here, that probably is better than my actual team. And then up front, I've got Haaland captain against Leeds at home and Thiago from Brentford against Burnley at home. And honestly, I'll be shocked if you see any free hit team this week without those two players. They are 100% locked unless they pick up an injury. Simple as that. They will definitely be in my team. And I don't think I really need to explain it anymore. They're just great picks in game week 13. and arguably great picks as well moving forward. The more interesting thing really is to talk about other forwards you could consider. There's not that many, honestly. Like, you're not going to go for like Beto or Barry against Newcastle at home or Voltemala against Everton away. Doesn't seem that appealing on a free hit. You've got maybe Watkins against Wolves at home as an addition to Rodgers or instead of, but he is 8.5 million. And you will find when you start putting a team together, especially if you want to go Haaland and Salah, that funds are quite tight. And also Watkins' minutes, 67, 80, 74 last 3 games. And the problem is, Marlon keeps subbing on and doing okay. So Watkins will almost certainly start. I don't really have too many doubts about it. So I don't hate him as a pick, but he's not like a sure thing, I would say. Even though Wolves at home is obviously a good fixture. But I just think a lot of people are going to go Rodgers. The other player that I considered back when I did a free hit 13 draft during the international break is Mateta against Man United at home. Because Man United defence hasn't been great this season. The numbers are not really there. So Mateta maybe, but the problem is he's just got sub before 60 and Ketty is there now. I don't think Mateta's a player to panic about. Like, I won't be selling him from my actual team when we get to game week 14 or anything like that. But he's suddenly not so exciting on a free hit pick. So I don't think there really is any other... Like, no one's going to buy Callum Wilson against Liverpool, although arguably not a bad fixture right now. We don't know if Yorkresh is going to be back for Arsenal, but it's Chelsea away, etc. You get the point. There's not really any other forwards. So unless I'm going to go for Watkins, I'm almost certainly in a 3-5-2 or a 4-4-2 this week. And I don't hate the idea of dropping one. Like, if I'm really not certain about Gakpo, I don't hate dropping him and going 4-4-2. But it would have to be someone like Van Dijk, because I don't have another spot for a Villa player. I don't have another spot for a Man City player or a Burnley one. So at that point, I'd probably just prefer risking Gakpo over Van Dijk. But then again, like, honestly, this is where the ramble starts, right? One of the problems I've got with Van Dijk this week is he's in my actual team and he's been rubbish. We can all agree on that. If you don't want to buy him, I completely get it. But I am slightly concerned that this is the week I'm going to free hit him out and he's going to score a goal. That would just be unbelievably FPL for that to happen. So maybe I could set up in a 4-4-2, not specifically to get Van Dijk, but more so to have a bit more of a security. Or, other option, Gakpo to Utara, go triple Brentford attack against Burnley at home and swap Collins to Van Dijk or something like that. I don't hate that. Even Munoz against Man United at home. Obviously, that feels a little bit reactionary because he just scored at the weekend, but we know he can do that. But that Man United game for Palace is after Palace have played in Europe on Thursday. So, I don't know. I think when I look at this team, I think Martinez and Cash will make the final team. Sharda, Rodgers, Salah, Haaland, Thiago. And Foden probably will as well. So it's really just Gakpo. Do I stick with Collins? Do I risk O'Reilly? Because the problem is I don't have a great bench. So I've got to be sure the players are going to start. That's my concern. So we'll see what happens. We'll talk about whether or not I could free hit in a different week as well. Let's discuss that because I think that's important. So this is my team for game week 13 without a free hit active over on the My Team tool on Fantasy Football Hub. And basically, I'm going to try and talk you through my thought process for why I think game week 13 free hit works best for my team and just go through some of the other weeks and my transfer thoughts and stuff like that. Because I keep getting a lot of questions about what is the perfect week to free hit? Should I do it in this week? Is this week good, etc.? And as I keep saying, there is no perfect week. Most weeks from now until kind of game week 17, 18 can work. It's going to depend on your team. So I would highly recommend doing something similar. So this is the team for 13 with one free transfer. For what it's worth, if I wasn't going to free hit this week, I would do Paquetá to Minte. But let's pretend for a second that I've activated the free hit. I get to game week 14 with one free transfer. Then I would make the Paquetá to Minte move. Hopefully I haven't been priced out at that point. I've got a 0.1 million buffer as it stands, although he'll definitely go up in price. So I'm really hoping he doesn't go up again before 14. So this would be my team in game week 14, right? Raya, Timber, Brentford at home. Senesi, Everton at home. Van Dijk, Sunderland at home. Lacroix, Burnley away. Minte, Villa at home. Cunha and Fernandes against West Ham at home, which is great. Saka against Brentford at home, probably captain. Haaland against Fulham away, although I might actually captain him, but we'll talk about that in game week 14. And then Mateta, Burnley away. I think everybody can agree I do not need a free hit in game week 14. The only reason to do it would be to get Salah against Sunderland at home, but that is not a good enough reason. So we can all agree I don't need a free hit in 14. So that week is counted out. If I get to game week 15, I'll still only have 1 free transfer. But remember, we get a top up to 5 free transfers in game week 16. So I've got to use my move in 15. I mean, I could burn it, but my team is not good enough to burn it. Now, personally, I will probably play Dewsbury Hall in 15, and I will bench Senesi. So just to quickly go through the team, Raya and Timber Villa away. Not a great fixture, but I'm never going to be worried about playing those 2 players. And arguably, it's a better fixture than Chelsea away in 13 anyway. Anderson Palace at home, great for defensive contributions, that guy. Van Dijk against Leeds away. Okay, he's not great, but he's staying in the team. Dewsbury Hall Forest at home, Saka Villa away. Fernandes and Cunha again, good fixture, Wolves away. This obviously relies on Cunha continuing to play good minutes, which I hope he will. Minte against West Ham at home. Mateta Fulham away. Haaland Sunderland at home. So if I wanted to, I could make a change to my first 11 because I've got a transfer to burn. But what I probably will look at is doing Senesi out to Vandenberg. And the reason for that is I've got a transfer to use and Vandenberg has Leeds at home in game week 16. So does that game week 15 team need a free hit? I mean, I could triple up on City against Sunderland at home, but obviously I can do the same thing this week against Leeds at home. And Newcastle have got Burnley at home that week. So that would also be quite nice. But I think, again, most people would agree that game week 15 team versus the free hit team is not that much different, I don't think. Like most of these players I've got pretty good fixtures. Like if you look at my game week 13 team, like there's just 3 players against Chelsea away, Man United players are against Palace away, and I've got a Palace defender. It could all work out really nice, but I just think my game week 15 team looks better. And I quite like making that Vandenberg move ready for game week 16. Then you get to game week 16, and hopefully this is easy enough to follow along. I've got triple Arsenal against Wolves at home, so Raya, Timber, and Saka. That's great. That's 100% what the free hit team, not necessarily those 3 players, but free hit team in 16 will definitely have 3 Arsenal. I've got Van Dijk against Brighton at home, Vandenberg in place from my game week 15 transfer against Leeds at home, Anderson against Burnley away, Cunha and Fernandes against Bournemouth at home, Haaland's Palace away, and Mateta's Man City at home. The worst fixture is probably Minte against Liverpool away, although he'll probably score in that game because Liverpool defence has just been so bad. But I'm getting to game week 16 with 5 free transfers because we all get topped up to 5. So if I wanted to, I could take a 1 week punt on Minte to someone like Dangu Utara, who will probably go to African Cup of Nations from game week 17 onwards. So I could go Minte to Utara and then Utara back to Minte the week after. Because this is what I've been saying for a few weeks now. My strategy is to get to game week 16 and not need to blow all those transfers straight away so I can take some 1 week punts. Or, and I suspect this will be a super popular move, let's say we get to game week 16 and Mateta's minutes have really dipped with Nketiah around. Mateta to Thiago, which everyone's going to look at. That gives me 1.7 in the bank. Then I can do Minte. I could even go Sharda if I wanted to, which again will probably be quite popular on game week 16 free hit. So let's say I get to game week 16, I use 2 of my 5 transfers to bring in Thiago and Sharda. All of a sudden, I've got triple Arsenal against Wolves, triple Brentford against Leeds, double Man United against Bournemouth at home. Haaland's always great. And my other defenders are Van Dijk against Brighton at home and Anderson against Burnley away. Like, that is absolutely fine. Again, what would I be free hitting? Salah against Brighton at home. Not bothered. I can just captain Saka or Fernandes if I really have to, or if I want to. And then maybe Palmer, because I don't have any Chelsea players against Everton at home. But honestly, unless Palmer can prove his fitness soon, I'm not even bothered about that. So again, this team just looks so good. What am I free hitting for? And then we go to, I'm not going to go through every single other week, but we get to game week 17. And again, my players are playing Everton, Forest, Leeds, Wolves, Villa, West Ham. And I've got 4 transfers to use, by the way. And then when you get to like 18, 19, you're starting to head towards Christmas. I probably don't want to free hit that late. Because if we get to 18, 19 and the free hit is useless, then you've just lost it. So I know that was a very long way of explaining it, but that's what I've been doing for weeks now. I just keep looking at future weeks, and I always get to game week 16, which is the other week people are looking at. Like, people are looking at 14, 15, 16, and 17, but I think you'll find that 16 will be quite popular. But for my team, it looks good. The real reason to free hit in 16, in my opinion, is if you don't want to carry your Arsenal players all the way through, but they're just pretty good for a while. Like, I'm just not in any rush to sell Saka. Because after 16, it's Everton away, Brighton at home, Villa at home, Bournemouth away. Like, it's fine. He's always going to play. He's on penalties. Okay, he's quite a lot of money, so it might be nice to spread that money around. But as I've just shown with these transfers, there's not really a point where I get massively stuck for money, to be honest. And even if I get priced out of Minte, I can just go and get Elliot Anderson or something like that. Or I can wait till 16 when I got the free moves to go and get Sharda and Thiago, whatever it might be. So I don't think I need anything in 16. The other reason to go 16, by the way, just quickly, because as you can tell, I've thought about this quite a lot. Man City have got Sunderland at home in 15, and they've got West Ham at home in 17, but their game week 16 fixture is Palace away, so it's a little bit trickier. And then the same thing for Brighton. They've got West Ham at home in 15, and then in 17, it is Sunderland at home. But they've got that Liverpool away fixture in 16. So if you wanted to stack up on like Welbeck, Minte, Van Heck, Foden, Haaland, then okay, maybe you free hit in 16 to get rid of some of those players and go all in on like Palmer, Salah, Saka draft and drop Haaland. But it relies on Salah being great, and it also relies on Palmer being fit. Like, if Palmer's not fit, that game week 16 team, I mean, how much better is it going to look than this team I've got right here? So this is what I'm saying. For my team, I think game week 13 free hit works out, because I think this is the worst team I'm going to have between now and 17. And I've got to use it before 19. Am I in love with this free hit team? I don't know. It's fine. But I don't think I'm going to get a better one in any future week. So I've got to keep reminding myself of that, because I can find holes in this draft, but I think it just makes the most sense for my team. Anyway, hopefully that helped. You don't have to go in 13. I promise you it is not essential. If you've earmarked a better week for your team, that's fine. Honestly, please take... If there's anything you take from this video, there's no perfect free hit week. Use it when you need it. There's going to be a lot of people going in 16. And if you use it in 16, by the way, the 5 free transfers, you'll just have them in 17 instead. Right. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. Hopefully they found that useful. If you did enjoy it, make sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button. I'll be back tomorrow for another video.